All right, so it's about 5 afternoon. We're going to get started. For any of you who have not logged on yet, you can do so throughout the entire presentation. It's also going to be recorded, so something we could definitely watch later. So welcome to Chalet. Just be aware, we wear our masks here all the time. I just took it off for the presentation, but we definitely are practicing safety here. If you come to Chalet, please bring your mask. I just took mine off recently, but I did have it on. Thanks for joining us today. We're going to be talking about faux plants and arrangements. We called it a demo. I'm going to be showing you what I have made and then also some of the faux stems. My name is Earl Liskey. I am the third. I know it's kind of funny, but yes, I'm Earl Liskey the third. I've been at Chalet now going on 11 years, and I've been in the role of Signature Design Lead. This will be going on my 4th season. Originally, I was hired at Chalet as the perennials manager and buyer, and my role has changed quite a bit over the past 10 years. All right, so although I have a real love for real plants, I've always dabbled and done professionally and privately faux arrangements with florals and botanicals and foliage. So we're going to be talking about that today. So originally, silk flowers were named over 100 years ago. And the reason we called them silk florals is because of the Chinese. Basically, the Chinese created the silk florals. They were considered the poor alternative to fresh flowers. Fresh flowers were so hard to come by and so expensive that they were labeled flowers only for the rich and elite. And so the Chinese developed some faux flowers made out of true silk to be the alternative that were cheaper. Nowadays, there's a lot of faux silks that are very expensive, they're very realistic looking, and the quality has improved drastically. It was the Europeans and the Italians that began to improve the silk flower production. And that's really when they become quite popular worldwide. And they used better quality fabrics and better workmanship to create the high-end florals and faux products that we see today. So today I'm going to show you some faux materials. We're going to touch a couple areas of florals and botanicals and also arrangements, single stems, and also foliage. So this afternoon, the categories I'm going to touch on are faux succulents, faux foliage, faux air plants, faux orchids, faux floral, and faux wreaths. The first one we'll touch on are succulents. You probably know that succulents have become very popular, very trendy recently, and very widely available. I will say succulents, people say, well, they last a very long time or last, indefinitely. Succulents are not hard, but they definitely are not permanent, especially in the conditions here in North Illinois and Chicago with low light winters. They can decline over time. So if we have succulents, for a couple of months to a couple of years, that's pretty good. Especially the Echeveria types and the smaller succulents, I do recommend we replace those every couple years. So I'm going to show you some examples of faux succulents. So here's a wonderful stem right here. This is a flapjack town Coe, really, really wonderful, very realistic looking. And then we get into some of the Echeverias and the Sempervivums. Very, very nice, very real. They're very durable, very lush foliage, just like the original and the real specimens. Common array of colors. We get the purples, the greens, kind of those bluey tints. And I will say there are some succulents that look better than others. We definitely try to have the best here at Chalet. And then with these succulents, we can create really wonderful arrangements. So here's one right here. This is in a wood bowl trough. And then I utilized driftwood here in the center. And the reason I like the driftwood, actually it's sandblasted grapevine, down the center is to carry the line through the container and then also to break up the heavy texture of the succulents. Also in these arrangements, what we try to do is include succulents of large specimens and then also small specimens in between. We definitely want to break up the chunkiness of these big ones with small products mixed in between. And again, as I said, that line comes all the way through. It follows the line of the container quite nicely. Succulents are very, very popular. We do sell a lot of real succulents, which we do carry, but for the hard to do areas, especially permanently in the home, if you have low light or an area that receives no natural light, the faux succulents are a really great way to go. And yes, we consider them permanent. I do recommend that sometimes with the permanent arrangements, you have several that you can change out a few times a year. All right, now we're going to talk about faux foliage. That's kind of my favorite. I love the florals and the color, but I'm more of a foliage person, especially when I do the living product in my containers, indoors and outdoors. I love the contrast of greens. Green is a great color. It calms the psyche. It makes us feel good. And it's a really, really beautiful product to have in your home, especially in the dark, dreary winter months. So I'm going to show you just a few examples today of some foliage here. This is a beautiful stem of Calathea, very realistic, very wonderful. It can go in a container on its own, or you can cut these separate pieces apart to create a floral arrangement. Here's another Marantha, close to the Calathea, very, very beautiful. And then I have here a beautiful Begonia specimen, a Rex type, that is very, very beautiful. And if you can see on the leaves, they're actually not even shiny. It looks very realistic, and this would be really wonderful in a mixed container for your interior of your home. Some people ask me, can you put faux outside? Yes, you can. I don't usually recommend it. It gets dirty quickly. It will fade. And then also it's not a long-term thing. So these really are meant for your interior homescapes. Here's some foliage that we sell. Look at this wonderful Boston Fern spray. Very, very beautiful. And a lot of these, when they're packed up, they get a little bit crunched. So we take these usually and you rework them and you bend them. We need to make them look a little bit more natural when we're working with them. Here's a wonderful bird's nest fern spray. Very realistic. Once again, they can be used in containers singly, or you can start to mix the textures. Typically, when we use these textures, this is considered a little bit more fine, and this is considered coarse. We want to mix these textures to accentuate the product. A container full of green can look very, very beautiful in your home. You really don't necessarily have to have all the color. There's a few more specimens right here. This is a small rubber plant specimen, very, very beautiful. It even has the new shoots on the top that looks very, very realistic like a rubber plant. Here's a silver leafed Artemisia spray that's very, very beautiful. Makes this really, really great with the green colors. Here's a Yarrow spray. Again, look at the fine texture on this. This would look really, really well with some of these bolder textures here and kind of accentuate each other. And then you probably recognize this one here. This is tongue or Sansevieria, very, very realistic, very popular. This could look very, very well in a modern container, just in a row singly on its own, but very, very beautiful. I pulled this arrangement out. This is actually a custom arrangement here. So I'm going to hold this up. It's in a glass bowl. I did the layering technique at the bottom, very, very beautiful. And then what we used in the top here, these are actually real boxwood balls. So basically it's real boxwood foliage that has been cut, and then it's dyed and it's preserved. So it has a real natural look to it. It's quite beautiful. And then I intermixed here these little green dianthus balls with the two-tone foliage that really breaks it up. And we have this coarse texture right here. So we needed this finer texture kind of to break up the coarseness of the boxwood balls. And then in the center here, this is another piece of this beautiful line of the Sandblasted grape wood. It's a little expensive, but it is beautiful. It lasts a very, very long time. You can have it indoors, you can have it outdoors. If you do use it outdoors, it will fade over time, but it still has a beautiful patina. If you keep it indoors, it will maintain this color right here. And Drew, I don't know if they can see this close, but this is a really beautiful specimen for a customer. So this is the type of work we do here at Chalet. All right, next, we're going to talk about faux air plants. I will say air plants are probably one of the easier plants to have in your home. They last a long time. You miss them occasionally. They're a more durable plant. You can have them in a kitchen, in a bathroom where there's more humidity. You can set them on a dining room table, on a coffee table, on your kitchen counter. They really are beautiful. Come in the kind of these silvery. Would be a xerographica type. Very beautiful. They even get the twists on the leaves on these faux ones that are really, really wonderful. But this just on its own setting on your counter, especially if it's a dark granite counter, would look really, really beautiful. And then we get some of the smaller varieties here, a little more fine texture. Here's a little pinkish in this one, a little bit long. Here's another silver one right here. When we're mixing these in containers again, you don't want to only have a container of just silver on silver, unless that's the color you want to go. It could look very good in a black container, but typically to make this pop just a little bit, some of these brighter colors and textures really make it pop and look a little bit better. Here's a cute little one right here, a little bit of purple on the underside, very, very beautiful. And then I have one behind me. I'm going to take off this wall. So this is a faux air plant arrangement on sandblasted grape wood. Very, very beautiful, very convincing. This could hang up on a wall. We can also create them to set down on a table. If I was putting this on a table, I'd probably arrange it a little differently, but again, it's very, very beautiful. If you can imagine this on a coffee table alone, in a modern household, any household, it looks really, really beautiful. And it is nice on the air plant ones to add a little bit of ferns, typically where they grow in nature on trees, more in the tropics typically. You'll also have little lichens and ferns growing in between them and mosses. So it's a really, really beautiful piece here. Again, air plants have become very, very popular, look very realistic. Great in your kitchen, your bathroom, or any room in your home. All right, and remember, if there's any questions, we're going to get to you at the end. We'll just hang this back up here. And if you're wondering what space I'm here at Chalet in right now, you probably haven't seen it. This is our signature workspace in here where we create all our interior designs and our exterior designs. So it's not something that's usually open to the public or the public sees. But it's back here on the retail property, just back off to this side. So if you're not familiar with it, that would be why. All right, next is a very popular category for us here at Chalet. We sell a lot of orchids. It's probably one of our top sellers in our indoor plant section, mostly Phalaenopsis and the white specifically. There's a reason we sell a lot of orchids. It's because they're long blooming, they're durable, they have a clean, sleek look, they're very easy to take care of. And most people here treat the live orchids as a commodity item. So when they're done blooming, they typically get rid of the plant and come get another blooming orchid. The Phalaenopsis will rebloom pretty easily, but most people just want an orchid constantly in bloom. The way to get around that is to actually get some of the faux Phalaenopsis or other faux orchids as a permanent arrangement, which I'm going to show you right now. And white, as I said, is our #1 color. Very beautiful, very pretty. But Phalaenopsis also comes in beautiful colors such as the pale purples and pinks and yellows, and even some colors that start to approach the color red. So some of these arrangements here, this is a small pre-made mini Phalaenopsis in white. You know, very ornamental, very decorative, great for a bathroom, a powder room, a kitchen, a desk in your office. Very simple. The only thing you need to do with it is you should probably keep it away from hot direct light all day if possible. They're fade resistant. Pardon me. They're fade resistant, but sometimes they can fade. Also, occasionally, pardon me again, there's some dust in the room. So occasionally you want to take like an aerosol duster and just dust these off lightly, or use a very light cloth that's slightly damp just to wipe the dust off. Here's a little more intricate pre-made faux Phalaenopsis orchid. Again, it has a beautiful arch here in the stems and then the beautiful foliage at the bottom. This one comes in a little more of a terracotta pot, which looks a little more English garden, you know, definitely contemporary, but also can go in any sleek home or decor. So this is an arrangement that I did create here. I saw this basket in the store and I thought, well, that's a very interesting, beautiful basket. The thing I liked about the basket is it can either set upright, just like this, or it can be hung on a wall. And when I saw it, I thought, well, that would be interesting. And what I liked about this basket is the circular circle of the open face. And then I started thinking, well, how interesting would it be to take one of the orchid stems and kind of follow that circular space here. So I started to work with it and try it, and I think it turned out quite wonderfully. I just attached it in the back. It's very beautiful. You cannot tell that it's been attached. And then what I wanted to do in the center, since this is all white, I broke up the center with some beautiful textured pilea, a maidenhair fern. I added some Phalaenopsis foliage to make it look more realistic. And this definitely looks very real. What I would say on the Phalaenopsis foliage too is when you're adding them, I like to take a little bit of Pledger end dust and really wipe these leaves, because typically the leaves on the orchids do have a slight sheen to them. So by doing that on these leaves, they look a little bit more realistic. It's just a little trick we do here. Once again, very, very beautiful. Maidenhair fern in the back, kind of more subtle green in the center, accentuated by this beautiful white orchid here. And also with this basket here, this would be something you could bring your own container in, your own basket, your own pot. And this is something we can do with you with real orchids or with the faux. We can always adorn anything that you bring to us or you buy in our shop. All right, let me just move these orchids out of the way. All right, now one that most people get excited about are the faux florals. The reason why is because it's bright color. We can get it to go in any room of our home, a certain color scheme. you know, this time of year, the gray depths of winter, you know, we like color, we want color, and it's a definite way to get them. Cut flowers, real cut flowers, they're great. You know, their shelf life might be a week, maybe 2 weeks at the most, and they're expensive. Still beautiful. I don't discourage you from getting real cut flowers, but these are permanent, meaning they will last for years. And as I was talking about, there is a seasonality to them that we'll discuss that I want you to be aware of. Also, when I'm selecting the florals for a container, if I'm just setting the stems in or actually building them in floral foam, I want to select plants that have a similar color hue to them or a color scheme. I do like to plan it just a little bit, meaning I might want all pastels, or I might want all hot colors such as oranges, reds, and yellows, which would definitely be more summery. Or you can go all white with some of the greens, which would be a little more contemporary, and go most of the year. But just be aware of that. There is a seasonality to these. You know, these are beautiful peony spray right here that comes in the spray together. Well, when peonies typically bloom, you know, it's late spring, early summer. This is something you might not want to have in, say, December or January or February. So then you can go and take them and put them away temporarily while you have your holiday displays out or your winter displays, and then bring them back out a little bit later in the season. So this here, this arrangement, this is one I made for the floor for sale here. As you can see, I selected a color tone. It has a little bit of a feel of a spring display, but actually it could go all season because the colors feel a little spring, yet it's very subdued. And a lot of these blooms in here are late spring and summer blooms, even up to the fall. What I like about this is I selected an expensive container here. This is one of the Kew Garden Pedestal pots. It's a series of containers modeled after old world Kew Gardens in England. They're very, very beautiful. They come in beiges and light greens and some maroony red tones. Very, very garden-like, but I also think they can go in any decor or any room that has a little bit of that feel of a more garden-y type shed, which is really, really nice. And as you can see with this, it definitely is a 360 arrangement. Very, very beautiful. And also in this, you can see what I love about this is I use these roses. These look like beautiful antique roses. And I love this color. It's this kind of purple, magenta, pale. It looks really real. And the petals on these roses, it's just, I have to say, it's delicious to me. I can almost smell them by looking at them. That's how real they are to me. And then also in this arrangement, I included some of the limelight type hydrangea. Very, very beautiful. Chartreuse is an interesting color with gardening inside, outside, and in containers and in the home. The reason it's interesting is because chartreuse can go well with the hot colors. It can also go really well with the pastel tones and the pinks, and also with white colors. So it's very versatile, and it also has, as I was talking about before, that calming effect of that green that does to our psyche, where the green color makes us feel at harmony and peaceful. Well, by adding these chartreuse elements in this arrangement, you kind of get a peace and harmony, yet there's pops of color here that are kind of subdued, but still really set off the arrangement. So again, that's one of the florals right here. You can see this is a 360. And also in here, as I said, I did use some broader, more robust foliage. What the robust foliage does in here is it just breaks up these clumps of color just enough to kind of set them off. Sometimes if we put too much fine foliage in a container, your eye cannot focus on one point in the container, and then it feels distracting or distracted. So by putting these bold textures in here with some fine foliage, your eye actually can distinguish the bolder textures as opposed to just being a little more, let's say, chaotic. And we want some peace and harmony when we build these arrangements. I'm going to show you here, since we're talking about faux florals, you know, here's some beautiful ones. Here's a beautiful Alcea or hollyhock, very realistic. The peony spray, I already showed you in these like coral pastel tones, very beautiful. Here's another beautiful peony. The petals on this are delicious. I mean, they look very real. I can almost smell this. They're serrated perfectly like the real peony. This would be wonderful in a late spring, early summer display. And then who can forget the wonderful tulips? Look at the great color of this orange tulip here. You know, pair it with the yellow tulip, very beautiful. And as you can see in this spray here, there's a white tulip. See how these are bent? So if I was using these in arrangement, I would lightly bend these just a little. Just by bending them, they feel a little bit more real. If you know the true cut tulips, they might start upright, but over time in a vase, they start to just slightly nod, we call it, just a little bit. So when you're putting these in arrangement, you might have a few upright, but you definitely want some nodding, especially as you start at the top and come down. The ones around the base of the container, just twist those blooms over just a little bit, and it will look all that much more real. Here's another one here. This looks very real. Even the foliage on this is pubescent, we call it, or hairy. This is vintage stock stem. Beautiful triple blooms on this. The color is very authentic. Again, this is fragrant stock. It's a very wonderful bloom stem. And this, with just a whole bunch, say 12 stems of these in a clear vase, would be a really nice highlight in your home. Here's another one. I love this. This is like a Queen Anne's lace. Very beautiful, fine texture on here. Very long stems, true to form. That great chartreuse color I was talking about that mixes well with basically any color. Definitely always think about the chartreuses when we're doing any home decor. This also would look good just in a vase on its own. Definitely add some more stems. We want some robustness to it. But also, these typically do stay more upright, so I might just bend some at the end. But those center ones, I definitely would want to leave upright because it looks more authentic. This here is a beautiful ranunculus, which soon we will have these outside, the real ones. But again, these delicious triple blooms, very fluffy. The petals actually move just a little bit like the real ones would. And it's so heavily serrated in here and so heavily petaled, it really, really looks authentic. And also, as I mentioned, we do sell the little pre-made bouquets here. Really, really wonderful. You can just set this in a vase. You can also just set it on a desk like this, a beautiful wood table or a console just like that, and you're good to go. I do want to show some of these. You might recognize these from the florist shops. These are proteas or proteas. Very, very beautiful, very realistic. These have a very tropical flair and feel to them. This is one I would say could stand on their own, just a couple stems in a vase, and you wouldn't need anything else. I did want to show you guys too these roses I have here. Roses, classic English garden. You know, everybody loves roses. Well, these right here are beautiful. Again, cupped, really beautiful, dull foliage. It looks truly real. And then if you mix them with these tones here, some of the more fuchsias, magentas, this creamy, wonderful white, that could be a beautiful little bouquet there with a pop of color, but still very harmonious. Great. So next, I'm going to talk about some wreaths. Wreaths are very popular. Definitely could go on a doorway, inside, outside, and on any wall and home decor. They're very popular for a reason. Here's one here. Very, very beautiful. So again, I'm talking about these chartreuses with a little pink tone. This is a Hydrangea Wreath. Really incredible. It's just all these single blooms in here, just masked with a little bit of foliage. This is incredible and very, very realistic. And also what I like about this one is there's pastels in here, but there's also chartreuses to break it up. It definitely adds more interest. If this was just solid pink, it would be a little more one-dimensional, I would say. By adding the chartreuse with the pink, it pulls the colors out and it makes it a little more three-dimensional. Quite incredible, actually. Here's another floral wreath. This one is a little more floral for sure, definitely with these beautiful, it looks like peonies in here, and there's a dahlia in here, and then we get some pittosporum, but the textures in this one, this is a little more busy, but still very harmonious, very beautiful. Could you imagine that on your front door for part of the season? What I would recommend though is, you know, as we're talking, as we start to get in the falls, this is when you want to switch it out to say a fall wreath or a more fall theme. So there's the 4 seasons during the year. I'd recommend, you know, you put this in a plastic bag, clean it off, put it in a plastic bag, put it in a dry, dark, cool place upstairs in your attic, keep the dust off it, then you can bring it back out year after year after year. Now, if you do leave these in hot sun, if you're on a west or southern exposure right on your outside door with the glass, they might fade over time, so just be aware of that. So it might not be quite as permanent if you do that. Sunlight still will fade these products a little bit. There is a product you can spray on it that is a clear matte finish that has UV protection. So if you are doing something like that, it would help to increase the life of your wreath. Here's another one. So this would definitely be for late spring, early summer. This is a beautiful Magnolia wreath. And what I want to show you too is even on the back side of the petals here, true to form, on the white Magnolia, the base of the floral bloom here has these streaks of purple. It's very beautiful, very realistic. The leaves haven't come out yet. Now this is one I would say is more seasonal. I wouldn't leave it up all year, but this is incredibly beautiful and very, very, very realistic. That would go good on any door, a black door, clear glass door. You know, you wouldn't want it on a red door, let's say, but maybe a pastel door, a white door, or on a wall in a home. Very beautiful. So we were talking about succulents and their popularity. This is a succulent wreath right here. It's interesting. It's very different. What I like about these succulent wreaths is, yes, you can hang them on a wall, but also be aware, these actually look really good setting on a table. So these would be great for a tablescape, or you could set them here. You could do some stones in the center. You could do some candles in the center. Really, really trendy, really popular. This is definitely a long-term product here. This one is very heavy, actually, very robust. Here's another succulent wreath. They mixed a few faux air plants in here as well. This is true to form. It looks very real. Again, this is a little heavier, but this also would be one that you definitely could set as a centerpiece on your table. I could see some pine cones in the center, some nuts in the center, a candle in the center, but also think of wreaths. They don't necessarily have to be hung up. They can actually be set on for a tablescape. So this is a product right here we're going to talk about too. So this is actual real boxwood. So this is not considered faux, it's preserved boxwood. It's quite, let's say you're going to pay a price for this because it's actual real product that has been dyed and preserved. This is a long-term product, but it's so realistic because it actually are real cuttings of boxwood. So this would be great, very trendy, just the green for a home, or also again on your tabletop decor. And then this one here I love because it has more of the fall tones. And when we were talking about seasonality, this is one I would say has a little seasonality to it. It kind of has a late summer fall feel to it, but it has these wonderful little antique roses mixed in with these roses here. Kind of breaks it up. So you have some small textures with big textures. It has a flow to it. It has some tendrils that make it look a little more realistic. It even has the rose hips on it that are green. Very, very beautiful, but I could see this on a nice dark gray door, black door, white door. This would be really, really beautiful in your home. And then finally, I will mention this one here. This is another wreath right here. It's a little more loose. I'd say maybe has a little more country feel to it, like definitely botanical. It looks like they were trying to mimic a little bit of maybe lavender definitely up here. And then with the more twiggy branches coming out, what I do like is they radiate out and they rotate. A little more whimsical, definitely maybe a little more cottage garden or maybe for more of a French country home. But again, very, very beautiful. It's got these great purples and they're great for certain times of the year. All right, well, I do believe I went through most of what I was going to talk about. So what I would like to say is first, thank you for joining us. And then if you have any questions, feel free to go ahead and put those through and we can answer those for you. And we'll stay here till the end until you are satisfied with the answers. And I do want to mention before we go to the questions that we do have, starting today, we have a permanent Botanic collection sale, meaning you can save 20% off on all our permanent botanical collections, meaning the faux, anything that is faux, definitely the faux stems here. And this is going to go for 2 weeks. So any of these beautiful faux stems, if you come into the store, you can definitely save some money on these. And also, if you come into the store, I'm available. We have a lot of good customer support here to help you to pick out. What I always say when you come to the store, take a picture of your door, take a picture of your wall, bring your container in if you're not sure. The more information you can give us, the more we can guide you to the right size of the wreath you need, the right size of container you need, maybe the color tones you want to mix and put in your home or your home decor or even your office. So some information coming in prior would be very helpful. If you do want to measure that door, also measure the width between the glass door and your outside door to make sure it won't get crushed. Some of these are beautiful, but some of them also have some thickness to them. So if you're putting them inside a door with a glass door, you want to make sure that these don't actually get crushed. We want to maintain the integrity of these products. So once again, come on in. We have that sale going on our botanicals. You come in and it is 20% off all our artificial plants, our flowers, our wreaths, and our stems. We'd love to see you. And if there's any questions, please feel free to ask.
Okay, yeah, I got a few.
All right.
First one here. How do you keep the faux orchids from tipping?
So there are ways to do it. If it's a pre-made faux orchid, and thank you for the question. So on these here, if it's a pre-made one like this is pretty heavy in the bottom. If you bring in a container or you're building a container on your own, or you're using a glass container for a more modern look, what you want to do is anchor the base. Meaning in the base of that container, if it's one you don't see, you can use pea gravel because you're not going to see it. If it's a glass container, you could use decorative black stone, decorative white stone. You could use decorative sands, but you definitely want to anchor that because the taller we get, the more chance it has to tip, which you're very right to mention. So it's those decorative products we can use. Again, what we would do is if it's a container you can't see, you put stone in the bottom and then you put the hard floral foam in the top and you start to build your container. I do want to mention on floral foams, there is a soft floral foam that you might want to use. That's meant more for the real product and it's a little more breakable. It also will not support heavy products or heavy stems. For all these faux stems here, you need the hard floral foam or the dry floral foam for faux products. So just keep that in mind. We're happy to help you here, but just remember, you need to anchor the bottom with something of your container. All right, next question.
How do you attach the materials to the reeds?
Okay, good question. So some of our wreaths for attaching them, so this wreath comes to us. I would love to take credit for this. I can't. This is a pre-made wreath that came to us. But what we used is, it's called floral wire. You can use the regular green wire floral wire, but this is the wrapped floral wire with a little bit of brown floral tape. It comes in a light green, a dark green, and a brown green. You can get this here. You can get it at any floral store, but this is how you would attach it. And usually when I attach it to a stem, I'll cut a couple pieces, but you want to wrap it around a stem. Try to hide it at a base of a leaf so you don't see it. And see, this is a green stem. So here I might want the light green instead of the brown because you want to always conceal your mechanics. You don't want to see your work. You want to make it look as realistic as it can and clean. So this is the brown. Again, you just pull it out. It's really thin, wonderful wire. It twists very, very easy. So that's how we'd attach it. And also what we attach with too is if you don't have one, this is a glue gun. We plug these in as soon as we get here during the day if we're going to use them or not. Very handy, very useful for many products. You can take these blooms actually off the end of these stems on some of them or cut them. So this one, see how that just popped off? So what I would do here is if I just wanted this to be glued on something, this is not going to be wired. What I would do is take the hot glue gun, I would put a big swath around the base, and then I would go ahead and I would stick it in my wreath like this, and I would hold it for a while. It dries pretty quickly, but just hold that, and then it's pretty secure. So that would be the other way to attach them. All right, any other questions?
Yeah, there's a handful.
Okay.
What is the name of the clear matte spray with UV protection? Do we sell it? How much? Size and price?
So, good question. So we do not sell it. I don't remember the price of it. We got it from a floral store, a wholesale floral store. I think your other home and craft store will have it. Even sometimes your hardware stores will have it. Just be aware it's a UV resistant clear coat. It comes in glossy, it comes in matte. So maybe even your Home Depot and Lowe's might have it. We do a lot of floral stuff here. We don't always do the full line of the faux and silk products, but definitely use that if you're going to have it in hot sun on a doorway. It really is useful.
Okay. This one, what about tropical plants? Can you incorporate some of these with them or live orchids?
Absolutely. Live orchids, especially because orchids are tropicals. They mix really, really well. But you can also mix them with florals. Me being a horticulturist, I'm usually aware what plants grow together. So I would say I'm a little more, I don't want to say snob-like, but I just would say that I can identify typically. It bothers me if I see a plant that I know, say, grows in Asia, and then you mix it with plants that grow here in North America. So that would bother me. Most people don't know, but definitely mixing those tropicals in with the foliage definitely looks good. If you come in here, we definitely can kind of show you which ones might be a little bit more in the same planting scheme, the same environment. You know, honestly, it really doesn't matter. What matters are those textures. And as I said, if you have a fine little texture, let's see here, fine texture like this, of this Achillea, this Yarrow, you definitely want to use, you know, a broader, coarser foliage with it. Maybe something to pick up the colors here. But see how there is that silver in that leaf, and the bold texture of this leaf definitely makes this pop. So you want to be aware of that. Again, it's not wrong to use tropicals in product. I will say in this arrangement here, so since this has kind of a Victorian flair to it, a little more florally, maybe even say a little more European French boutique, I don't know that I would like to see a lot of tropicals in here. There is a Pedestal in here, which is a very popular floral plant. It's a little more tropical, but again, we usually see it with florals. So just be aware that you don't want to necessarily mix. I wouldn't mix, you know, like a spring blooming peony with a big philodendron leaf. To me, I wouldn't like that. But also, if it's your aesthetic and you think it's pretty, there really is nothing wrong. We just want to build it correctly and have it look good. So it's kind of your personal preference.
Well, could you please comment about the container color using with various color of flowers?
Absolutely. So good question. So the container would be your vessel, and the container, which I always say is going to dictate really what you can build and what you can make. First, there would be, as in this container here, this has a nice footed base on it, meaning it won't tip easy. So in this container, I could go pretty high in this. Now, if you had a base-like container that came down, you know, it could be very tippy. So you don't want to build high unless you put some weight in the bottom. And even by putting the weight in the bottom, it still could get tippy. So the container does dictate a little bit of what we can create. As far as color scheme, you know, we consider there's color, there's earth tones, and then there's kind of neutrals. So say if you have a bright orange container, you can use the color wheel where purples and blues and yellows would look good in it, or oranges. But you don't want every color under the rainbow. It would be a little too monotonous. It probably wouldn't look very professional. It's good to be aware of those color schemes, hot colors, light colors, pastel colors, and kind of follow a color scheme. That definitely is basically going by, if you're in art at all, the color wheel, and opposite colors kind of accentuate each other, but also on the color wheel, the colors right next to each other are definitely more harmonious and not so, let's say, jarring. So as you can see in here, my focus in this one was more of the lime and chartreuse color, and then I popped it with a little bit of, this is definitely color, this antique rose, but it's not a hot color. I'm not saying that couldn't look good, but then I accentuate it with a light blue, a light pastel, a light purple in here with the limes, and it pulls together really nicely. So color is important. Again, you can go online and just see the color wheel and start to read about it, and you'll find out quite quickly what colors are very harmonious and which ones are not.
How long does the preserved boxwood wreath last?
So, good question. So on that preserved boxwood wreath, the foliage itself will last years. In the sunlight, it can fade. Again, that's that one product you can spray on it to, I would say spray it once, twice a year for the UV resistance. If you have it inside the home, it can last years and years and years. The thing about the boxwood wreaths are, let's see, where did I put it?
Under.
Thank you. The thing about these boxwood wreaths is, so here's the back of the boxwood wreath. It's in a light floral foam with a netting. These are cut pieces stuck in and glued. This would not hold up outside because the glue could become wet and these could come out. I've also seen on these, birds will actually come up and pick on this if it's outside and you don't have a door on it. And these preserved boxwood here can fade over time. So that preservative would work really well. There are tricks with some of the floral spray paints that you could lightly, just slightly spray it. This could last years as long as it's not in the sun. And then also on these boxwood wreaths, you know, once or twice a year, we can mist these to kind of try to plump them up a little bit. If there's a heating vent above this in your home, it's going to dry out a lot quicker, especially on the top side. So just be aware of that. It's a long-term product. You just have to do a little bit of maintenance on this as well and not direct sunlight. Also, just be aware on these preserved boxwoods, they are a little expensive, I would say, because this takes a lot of effort and it is real boxwood. But a great product. I think I showed you in this one here, that boxwood. This is what was used in this gorgeous container here. Those are actually boxwood balls that we sell in various sizes, and that's the preserved real boxwood. It's a great product and one that we really recommend.
Do you have the Hydrangea Wreath available? Your website indicates it is sold out.
Okay, so if you're talking about this Hydrangea Wreath right here, I'm not privy to everything online. We're just putting some stuff up. This is here in the store right now. So what you could do if you want to instant message us or anything, if you were interested in this, I can put your name on it when we're done here and you can come in and take a look at it. We'd be happy to do that for you. This is beautiful again, though. The pinks, the chartreuses, it's on the grapevine wreath in the back. It's quite stunning. This is something for definitely for the long term. So go ahead and instant message us and we will put a name on this and we're happy to have you come in and take a look at it and see if you like it.
Cool. Another one here. What container / how would you arrange just 7 or 8 tulips?
Okay, good question. So just 7 or 8 tulips. Let's see, where did I set those? So for something like that, the 7 or 8 tulips. Find where I got them here. All right, well, here's a few of the tulips. So for something as simple as this, you want to be of the height. I do like that some of these blooms are a little bit larger, some are smaller. So in this one, it would be really beautiful just to maybe have a little flared glass base, put some black stone in the bottom, some polished black stone, and then just arrange these in. You could have under 10, I usually like odd numbers, because like numbers of 2 just looks a little odd, 3 looks better, 6 looks better, 9 looks better. After 10, we kind of really can't notice or tell anymore. So just remember under 10 odd numbers. And then what you would do is just slightly bend these stems. Again, we want that real look where they look a little bit real. Maybe the center one would be upright a little bit, but I still like to just nod that head just a little bit. And then you would just arrange them. First, you put one in the center with the black stones down here, one in the center, and then just build around for a very tiny vase. Very simple, very cute. Be aware again, these are spring, early summer blooming bulbs. So I'd have them spring, maybe early summer. Then after that, I'd probably put them away and switch out to more of a summer floral. But yes, you definitely could do that. This is sold as this right here. So this is 5 stems right together. I would say I would want 1 more of these. This is $14.99. 2 of these, it's basically $30. You could put a harmonious color, or you could just get a color of the same. But 2 of these bunches in a black or clear vase, a little stone on the bottom, would be really, really cute, really, really sweet.
That's all the questions.
All right.
Yeah.
So Drew is telling me that's all the questions. So once again, my name is Earl. Thank you so much. Just be aware that that faux sale I was just talking about is happening right now. We call it's the permanent collection sale, and you can save 20% off all the artificial plants, flowers, wreaths, and stems. And then also, as we said, we can create some faux florals for you using anything. If you have a vessel at home that you want to bring, if you find one here, that's something we can definitely do for you. And yes, I'm a horticulturist. I love real plants, but there is a room and there is place for the faux. And if it's done correctly, it can last a long time and really be beautiful and true to form. So guys, thank you all. We appreciate it. Be safe out there. Come visit us Chalet. We look forward to having you, and thank you very much.
You just need a name, right? If
yes.
They want to come in and tag
yes.
and save
if you want to come in, just give me your name as well for the wreath. I'll put it on the wreath. So give me your name and maybe your phone number. I'll put it on that hydrangea wreath for you. You can come in, take a look at it, see if it's something that you really want. It's quite incredible, and it can be yours. So, all right, guys, thank you. Come see us. My name is Earl again. If you come in the store, definitely come in, say hi, call me from the back. I'm in my little workspace right now, but we'd be happy to help you, and be safe, and thank you.